Welcome back to Switch to Linux. You might have noticed that it is indeed after Christmas, and it is after the New Year's, and we still do not have that new version of Linux Mint. What is going on? Well, today we're going to talk about the latest Linux Mint post, which is a very short post, but we are going to talk nonetheless about the current updates and where the status is and when we might expect to see the new version of Linux Mint come on down the pipeline. And so we're going to jump right on over to their blog and just get the updates. And as I said, this is a brief update. So the January 3rd, and that is, I'm recording this on January 3rd. Look at that. So the new version or the new newsletter's out. First, we want to thank all those people who made supporting Linux Mint a priority. So you can see they've received 10,000 in November and 24,000 in December. And 383 donors and 751 donors in December. Very, very awesome. And we always appreciate when people can support the projects. And whatever operating system you're using in Linux, hey, you're not paying Windows license fees. You should really think about supporting the distribution developers of what you are using. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the main bulk of it. Of the beta testing, there were 50 overall bug reports. 35 of those bug reports are resolved, and this means 15 are still remaining, and that is what has delayed the return or the release of Linux Mint 21.3. They're tackling those 15 this week, so hopefully we will have the stable release of 21.3 and the upgrade path from 21.2 to 21.3 probably within, I'm going to guess, 10 days or less of when this video comes out. So that is exciting. Of course, the next big news is LMDE 6 is out. Now, LMDE 6 is Linux Mint Debian Edition if you are new to Linux Mint. And what LMDE 6 has is it is based on Debian, and if I'm remembering correctly, I can't remember if this one came out based on the Bookworm or based on the Bullseye. I can't remember off the top of my head. I should have gone through and looked into that. But the LMDE project lags down behind the release of the primary Linux Mint Ubuntu-based series. But one thing it always does get is the updates from the Linux Mint software. This means the Cinnamon version is going to roll up, and this means all of the other improvements that they have tied specifically to the Linux Mint project itself are going to be rolled out. So you still will have the old Debian package base, but you are going to have the newer versions of Cinnamon and the newer features involved in Linux Mint from any upgrade managers, any kernel updating systems, on through the new spices for getting good system menus going on in your context list, just all sorts of fun stuff. All of those things are going to roll out, and we're going to go over and remind you about what those things are going to be here in a moment, but we have one more spot, and that is the Edge ISO. 21.3 is going to come with an Edge ISO, which comes with kernel 6.2 for the people that do not want to run 5.15. Now, some people might say, why would they even ship with an old kernel like 5.15? The reason is 6.2 is going to be a newer kernel. There's going to be more bugs in it, and you're going to have a few more issues. However, you're also going to have patches for modern hardware that is not going to be supported in the older ones. So the average user of Linux Mint is going to do just fine on the Linux kernel 5.15, whereas some people are going to need to go with that. Now, specifically, they identified some bugs with SSD controllers in Acer laptops, and recent AMD graphics were having issues in the 5.15 branch, which are solved in the 6.2 kernel. So you have that option. In fact, the laptop I'm recording this on is a prime example. This laptop, when I got it, was fairly new, state-of-the-art. It was a Ryzen 5 with AMD Radeon graphics, and there's something about that much more modern AMD Radeon graphics that the older Linux kernels didn't like. So when I installed Linux Mint on this laptop, I actually explicitly upgraded the kernel to a new version so that we would have all of the extra feature softwares. In this case, it's what I needed to do to make the graphics work well. And subsequently, when we updated this to 21.2 a few weeks ago, I got way better improvements and support. Our weird power issues have vanished, and I've gotten some stability in Kdenlive and OBS and some other things that we did have a few issues with thanks to the newer kernels. So on this, for the people with newer hardware, you're building more state-of-the-art computers or newer graphics cards or things like that, you might want to try the Edge ISO when that comes out to get a newer kernel. The average person will probably be just fine with the 5.15 kernel. So that is what is going on there. And with that, what new changes are coming to LMDE 6 with 21.3, and a brief reminder of the new features in the 21.3 rollout. First, this is the 21.3 is supported until 2027, although LMDE 6 is going to roll to 7 by that point in time. So you are going to get the new versions of Cinnamon inside of this. You will get the new version of Hypnotix, which is rolling out with some extra new features in here. I still think Hypnotix is a work in progress personally. I've still never had any real good luck with it, but I'm not going to mention a lot more about it for reasons we've discussed on my channel before. The biggest changes we're going to get is the changes in Cinnamon 6. So first is we have Cinnamon add-ons. So we have applets, we have deskless extensions and things like this, but now we have a new type of spice, and this is called an action. This is going to allow you to add things to your context menu. So if you like the system resource monitor, you can now add a context menu. So you right click on the desktop, and in your context menu, you are going to get now an option to add a system monitor. You get an action there to automatically check the checksum of a file. So if you're regularly downloading files and you need to compare checksums, you have the ability to check checksums or to return checksums. If you're uploading files, you need to make sure that you give somebody a checksum to make sure that they have downloaded it appropriately. You can now right-click, click a button, and get the checksum immediately. And so these are amazing new features. I am really looking forward to getting some of those inside of my system. We have now this used to be Nemo Actions. Now it's for the context menus. We covered how to use all that, and we did the full in-depth breadth of all these on my last Linux Mint 21.3 beta review. So I'm going to link that video so you can watch that. We're just going to walk through the basics here. You can see you have this verify. You can make a bootable drive. There's going to be another one to open up the system monitor, things like that. So this is that new actions panel. This is inside of the settings. You will find it. We also have Wayland support. I'm not 100% sure the Wayland support is coming to the LMDE. My guess is it will be there, being as that this is embedded in Cinnamon. And so if the new version of Cinnamon 6.0 comes over, we are going to get experimental Wayland support on LMDE 6. So those looking to move to Wayland or to test with Wayland, you will have that now as an option inside. And then we have a variety of different smaller improvements. We have 75% scaling is back, Windows opacity key binding. We have stylus buttons can be disabled. Monitor use notification is now configurable, so you can set your notifications as to which monitor it's going to. And then we have other options. So there's some other basic improvements. So Warpinator has some updates. We have some new artwork in there, and then just a few other small features. So those are the things that are coming to Linux Mint. The next version of Linux Mint 21.3 should be out here very soon. Next 10 days is my guess, unless there's some weird bug that comes out and is causing issues. And then shortly after that, we're going to get those ported out to LMDE 6. For you users of LMDE 6, expect a big update with the new version of Cinnamon and new versions of Hypnotix, Warpinator, and a new Actions. So there is our update to Linux Mint for the month. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so, and pass this video along. Keep people informed as to what's coming on in Linux Mint. With that, thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now.
You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.